Welcome back, everybody. Another special player interview series I have here with a very special guest. I've got Adam. First of all, he's not the special guest this week, unfortunately. I know he loves to be each week, but Adam, obviously from League of Inches podcast and the Talking Parrot podcast. But Kevin Campion, absolutely fantastic to have him. I'm going to embarrass him quickly. 241 first grade game, 20 tries in there. And a quick pub quiz, which I don't know many would get right. He's actually got 6 goals in there as well from earlier in his career. Kicked a couple, so he's a sharp shooter. Definitely would be able to nail him anyway if it was for your life. So, Kevin, thank you for jumping on League of Inches. How you been?
Mate, I'm great, yeah. The Gold Coast weather has sort of just turned a bit. It's been nice and warm. I think we've had our 2 weeks of winter, so, yeah, really enjoying it. It's coming into summer now, so it's time to get back in the ocean.
Yeah, we finally dropped below 20 degrees for a couple of weeks there, and now we're back over. So that Sydney folks will be embarrassed, will be upset, but and a bit annoyed at us. But it's good to see. But we're looking to get jumping into your career, and what I always start these with is just talk about your junior footy days and where you grew up and who you played for.
Yeah, well, I was born in Serena, which is a little town just south of Mackay, 30 minutes south. Born in the Serena hospital when it was when they were having birthing there. But grew up playing just for the Serena Bulldogs. They were called when the juniors, and then they when you got into the senior league, it became the Serena Crocodiles. So. Yeah, I went right through the grades from under 10, started playing at under 10, right through to A grade in Serena, and fortunate enough to play for Mackay in the Foley Shield final in 1991. We're going back a bit, but we happened to win that against Cairns, and sort of the career sort of kicked off from there. I got a trial down in western suburbs in Sydney, and also got a trial at the Gold Coast Seagull. So, look, I chose the Gold Coast, not knowing much about the Gold Coast Seagulls, but I chose the Gold Coast. It was still I was still able to live in Queensland. I was only 12-hour drive from mum and dad if I needed to go home, and I was lucky, I guess, and everything turned out well.
Perfect. And obviously with the Gold Coast, it's quite a new club, especially that time as well. Was it purely the fact it was Queensland based, or you saw there's a really good opportunity for yourself to grow as that youth player into more of that senior sort of figure as you went with your career?
Look, honestly, I didn't really know much about the Gold Coast. Obviously they were in New South Wales, just over the border in Tweed, but the day I rocked up, and not really knowing much about them, I found out that Wally Lewis was the coach. My good friend from Serena, Dale Shearer, was part of had just signed with the Gold Coast Seagulls from Brisbane, and look, we had some North Queenslanders from that. Steve Jackson, I got to live with Steve for the first couple of weeks I was on the Gold Coast. He took me in, and I trained hard with him. So it was a good start to what I needed. Jacko was fabulous for me. Rowdy was good for me. He was married to my cousin Delise, who's from Serena. So he used to take me out to Ipswich as well. If I got homesick, just to be with Delise. And look, it was great. I had friends. I made friends really quickly. Jamie Goddard and I had travelled down from North Queensland together. We knew each other. We played against each other up there. We had a history of battles of, the junior coming through the grades there. And we I'm going to his son's wedding, and he's my godson this weekend. So we've remained very close over the years.
I got a quick one for you. Obviously, being a kid growing up in Queensland and the New South Wales Rugby League obviously dominated that, 70s and early 80s. Who did you grow up supporting?
Yeah, well, in North Queensland, it was funny because we never got the Sydney League. We only got grand finals. So we got Brisbane League. Every Saturday was a Saturday afternoon main game. and we would sit there and I'd look there. I supported West, I supported East. Marty Bella, who was a great player, played for Queensland and Australia, and he's from Serena. Went down to East before he went down to Sydney. So I started supporting East Tigers in Brisbane. But, then it sort of went to where the king was. Every kid in Queensland wanted to be the king, and Winner Manly was, the team, and our junior colours were green and red, like Winner Manly. So I remember bussing it down it was our Triple A after the season in, I think it was 1986. We busted down from Serena. It took us 18 hours, and we went to the Brisbane Grand Final, and we watched, I think, Winner Manly beat, I think it was Brothers, but it could have been South, but didn't matter because Wynnum won.
On this show a few weeks ago, I spoke to Sats, who talked to me about his time at the Gold Coast Seagulls as well, and he mentioned Wally Lewis as well, and he was like you, he was going through the ranks as a junior, sort of up into first grade, and he said just that aura of Wally Lewis was just something else, and he found it at times really intimidating, but he found that Wally Lewis was really accommodating to the youngsters. How did you find Wally during that time?
Well, yeah, Wally wasn't very personable. He's obviously the captain of the club, and then he was a captain coach of the club, and then he was the coach.
Getting helicopters to training, I heard.
Yeah, he did, yeah. There was a number of times he got the helicopter to training, and, we were all starstruck. The king would rock up halfway through a training session, everything would stop, and he would sort of prance out of the helicopter and run in like he's obviously the king. But look, they were funny days, but it was really surreal because Wally was just such a superstar, and he was like a rock star, and he was world known, and just to be around players or being coached by Wally, and have players like Brent Todd and Steve Jackson and Dale Shearer and Peter Gill and Ray Herring, those types of great first graders. It was just it was fantastic because the sad thing was it was a really good family club, and everyone got on, and it was just a sad day when they basically took the club down and dismantled the stadium and kicked us out of the competition.
96 saw you sign with the Dragons, and in that year you actually went on to play in the grand final. I want to firstly ask you about moving to New South Wales. Was that ideal for you? Was there hesitation behind that?
No, it wasn't ideal. I'd signed with Super League, so I went down pre-season 96 to Adelaide. And then, the courts overturned the decision for us to play. So I actually went back to the Gold Coast, to the Chargers. And I'd spent a couple of weeks there training, and David Waite rang me, and because I had a few mates down there, Adrian Bronco, who was a close friend of David Waite's, played under him at Newcastle. Brunk's basically, told Wadey to give me a crack, and Wadey took a chance on me. And 2 weeks after arriving back on the Gold Coast, I was down in Sydney pre-season training. So I spent the first 4 weeks in reserve grade, and then I played basically every game. I think I missed a few finals games, and then I started in the grand final, which was just a great experience. It was a great club, and it was good to be coached by, because I needed structure. I needed to be told where I needed to be and what I needed to do. So, and Wadey was like that. He was a very structured coach, and every player on the field knew what was expected of them, what their job was. And so that was really good for me. I learned more. My first year at Gold Coast, I was coached under Grant Bell, who I classed as one of my better coaches, and he was a student of David Waite. So I learned more in that first year in '92 under Belly, and then I learned heaps under Wadey. He took us to another level.
Adam, you got something? You look like you're about to speak.
No, I've got nothing on St George. I'm just waiting for the Adelaide one, which is next, which I can introduce.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, obviously, 1997 Adelaide Rams. I've got so many questions about it. Like, my biggest memory of the Adelaide Rams was going to a game in 1997 at Newcastle. I was 6 years old. Look, obviously, if you haven't ever caught the League of Inches podcast, I'm not a very big Newcastle fan. So 6-year-old Adam was there supporting the Adelaide Rams. So I was probably one of your only supporters in the crowd, to be honest.
We wouldn't have played Newcastle.
I would have been the year after, actually, when that was around 98. Yeah.
Well, that's I wasn't there. See, I wasn't there.
Moved on then. Yeah. That's just my memory of Adelaide, actually supporting Adelaide for one game in my life. But the question I want to ask is, what was it like playing in Adelaide? And obviously, not a very well-known rugby league area, was it?
Yeah, we loved it. Like we had such a great group of guys, but we're all discards, from different clubs. We're all lower grade players when we first got there in 96, that pre-season. It was just great. And I've got so many great friends from back in Adelaide. Chris Quinn is one of my great friends that I've kept really closely in contact with over the years. And look, we just had such a great time. The coaching right through from the management to the coaching staff, because we were a new club, and we were. I don't know how the management and the coaching staff operated, because they were just young and not experienced, which is it wasn't a detriment to us, but we just had such a great time. Adelaide was a beautiful place. We all lived close to the city. We'd go for a punt on a Saturday if the races were on. All the girls got on well. The state, where we played at Adelaide Oval, they really looked after us on game day. A lot of us had kids at that stage. Not myself, but a few of the older guys. They really were well. They really looked after us. So we became really close, a close-knit team. And, we didn't sort of fare that well on the field, but, we had some fun. That was when they had the World Club Challenge. We went to England for 4 weeks and just had the best time of our lives. We had young kids like Luke Williamson and Adam Peake, who came over on the tour with us. They didn't play a game, but they just experienced what it was like to travel and have some fun, and we had some fun.
Yeah. Talk to us a bit more about that Super League period, because it was still early-ish on in your career, and we've all heard the stories about players in groups and basically getting told, name your price and we'll do whatever it needs to get done to get you over. What was it like for you? Was the scenario there where you guys were all in a room together and it was name your price, or you met at a local Macca's, or how did it go?
We had Donny Ferner as the old club CEO, and we came home from Sydney, and we were on the bus coming back to the club from the airport, and we stopped at the club, and Donny, pulled us all in together and just said, "Look, there's." Obviously you've heard about the Super League war, the ARL. This is what he said. He said, look, I've got a bit of money from the ARL. I've got $500,000. And there was 40 of us, 40 of us sitting on the bus. So he goes, I want you to come in individually during the week, and I want to pass out some of this money. And I'm doing the maths. Well, I'm not going to get much, am I? So that's exactly what happened. Like they gave Seagulls $500,000 for 40 guys. It was embarrassing. But there was no animosity against the ARL or the Super League. The player in a player's perspective, I mean, they were all great mates. So they've been playing together for years and years, and all the top players were just sort of basically in each other's ears, telling you, don't sign for that, go for this. I've been offered this. Why don't you go for that? Basically. So it was just an amazing time, and you've got to understand, Seagulls. My contract that year my first grade contract was $30,000, but I had to play 20 games to get that money. So I had to run on 20 times. So when Super League came along and, they gave you a $30,000 check just to sign on, I'm thinking, holy hell, this is great. So I couldn't sign on quick enough. I didn't even go and talk to the ARL after Donny's Furness speech because it would have been worthless. Yeah. And I think the main thing was that Super League needed the players, and they were just throwing it away, which is great.
I've got with the Super League and with the modern day fan. We've obviously just gone through the CBA agreement, and it's finally been reached. Was it similar how it was played out back then? Was it like all through the media? Was it boycotts? Was there threats? How was it compared to what we just went through?
No, not like. I don't think we even had a players' association back then. I don't think there was. Well, if we did, it was 2 or 3 guys. It wasn't like it is today, where they're real staunch. Every player's on board today. So they've got a great voice throughout the NRL, and they're able to put their foot down when they need to, which is great. And we didn't have that. It was all new. Professional football was new. We've been working and training and playing, where the Super League gave you an opportunity to go full-time professional and just concentrate on rugby league and not have to worry about working 9 to 5 before training starts at 6.
Yeah. So 98 to 2000, seen you join the powerhouse that is the Brisbane Broncos, and they were just in a purple patch of form through those years. So you got on board at a really good time and helped improve that team as well. And you got to play in a number of grand finals with them as well. Yeah. The first question I've got for this period of time was, how was it to deal with Wayne Bennett and be coached by Wayne Bennett?
Oh, look, Wayne and I built a friendship up in the 97 Super League, and I went to Wayne when I was having contract sort of problems with Adelaide. I sourced Wayne out to get his advice, and he was easy to talk to. Like, he obviously knew the game. He was on my side. He wanted to do the best by me as well and give me the right advice that would help me. So Wayne was just a terrific guy to talk to. But again, he was a bit like Wally. He was he had an aura about him, and but you had instant respect for him, and so you didn't want to let him down. That was the main thing with Wayne. You just didn't want to let him down. He set high standards, and you just didn't want to let those standards down.
What was he like in the dressing room? Was he one of those characters, and I think he still is to this day? The less he says, the more worried you are as a player.
Yeah, look, we were fortunate. Like when I got to the Broncos, we had a red hot side, so I think we only lost 5 games, and I hadn't beat half the sides that we beat that first year. I was there, 98, and it was just great. Look, there was such a confidence in that side. And we just knew we were going to win most days. We had to be really off our game to lose, or they had to play, their best game ever to beat us. But we had a cracking side, and I'm I'm obviously blessed to be part of that 98 grand final side, which I think when you go through that side, it's one of the best sides I've ever been a part of. But we were. The hardest thing with being in a grand final is the hardest thing is getting there. But once we struggled that first couple of semis that we played in. I think Parramatta beat us. They were a bit of a bogey team for us. So, but we knew if we got there, we'd win. Didn't matter who we played. I think Wayne just had us pumped for that year.
You basically just answered my next question then. I was going to ask you about what the mentality was going into those two grand finals, being in such a dominant side for both of those years, and the belief that obviously your playing group had. It must have just been a confidence thing going, we're going to win.
Yep.
There's no way in the world we're going to lose this.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the difference is between the 98, statistical side of things, who won more games, because we were both minor premiers in 98 and 2000, and we both had strike right across the field. I just think, we went really after the 99 season, which wasn't, we made the finals, but we limped into the finals. I think 2000, we just built our whole season on our defence. It was a more forward-orientated game. But and once we, got over other teams, that's when, the Lockyers and Sailors and Takiris, they would do their stuff. So look, we didn't, if you look at 98, we beat teams. I think we beat Norse in 98 by nearly 70 points, which was a fun day, when you just sit there, just watching our backs just score tries after try after try. But 2000, we really, after that 99 season, that we knuckled down, and, once we got on that roll and got that confidence back right through the club, we knew if we got there, we'd win it.
He's big North knew that bad, they folded him.
North in 98?
Yeah.
No, I think they were still there in 98. I'm not sure what.
Yeah, 98. No, the year after they were gone, I think it was 99. They may have 2000.
I love North Sydney, and they were one of the hardest teams to play, and it was so sad that that they should be one team that should come back into the comp. But they were always a tough. North Sydney Oval was a terrible ground to play on. Yeah, but had some great. We had some great results against them, especially up at QE2 Stadium.
Do you remember much of your try in the grand final in '98 against the Bulldogs?
No, well, I do believe there's a lot of conjecture that I didn't put the ball down, but look, I was pretty sure that I got it down.
I'll believe you.
I had to run 50 or 60 metres to get there, so it was a massive effort from me. I was palmed a few guys off, carried a few guys over the line. So it was, but, a lot of people haven't played in grand finals. A lot of people haven't scored in grand finals. So I was blessed.
Yeah. In 01 to 02 senior, and I reckon if someone told you when you were first starting on Fin Rugby League that you'd end up playing over in New Zealand, you'd probably tell them you're dreaming. But that's what happened in 01 and 02. You went over across the ditch. Well, how did that come about? You went from the Broncos over to the Warriors. Yeah. Can you just let us in there?
So I'd signed, Wayne had told me that I wasn't required at the club. Ash Harrison was coming through, which was, Ash and I were. I was a bit of a mentor for Ash, so I was very happy for him. And I knew that I was nearly. I think I was just turned 29. So, the older players get moved on, and the younger players, it's their turn. So I'd signed with Warrington. Alfie and Gigi were over there, and so I knew I was going to a good side. Anyway, I got over there and I got asked to play for Ireland in the World Cup. So I had 6 weeks experience over there before I got there. So, but I took a heap of my clothes and bags and all that over there with me, just to save some luggage going back over. Anyway, it was like the worst weather in 400 years, and it was horrendous. And it rained and rained, and it was cold and wet, and I just thinking, and I'm thinking, oh, this is not. I don't, because my son Austin, my eldest boy, he spent months in hospital in Brisbane with croup. So I rang my wife and just said, look, I don't think this is the right thing for us. And so I rang Wayne for advice again. And I just said, look, mate, I can't bring the family over here. Austin, buddy, Kylie will leave. Honestly, she'll be here for a month and take Austin back home. And he said, oh, mate, he goes, you wouldn't believe it. The Warriors have just been bought by a taken over by new ownership, and they're looking for players. Give me 24 hours, and I'll see what I can do. And within 24 hours, Wayne had me basically signed up at the Warriors. Which was great.
It was
I've got a
basically
couple
your
of questions. I've got a couple of questions about that Ireland World Cup, because I was gonna mention, as someone who got back from Ireland on Friday, you've absolutely hit the nail on the head with the weather. London and Ireland was absolutely terrible. Just couldn't decide what it was going to do. But look, obviously representing Ireland in that World Cup, did you get to spend much time in Ireland, or was it all in kind of England? Or?
Yeah, it was all Ireland. We spent a week in Spain pre-season at it was Lanzarote, I think it was called. So it was like a beachside resort, but it was like desert. So you go down to the beach, but behind the beach was all just desert, I think. But we spent a week in Spain, just doing a camp, just getting to know each other. And we had some tremendous players in that side. Terry O'Connor was our captain, Barry McDermott. We had Aussie players like Jamie Mathau, Luke Ricketson, Danny Williams.
Got into the finals, I believe.
We did. First Irish side to make the quarterfinals, and we had a great side. We had Tommy Martin, we had Chris Joint, we had some wonderful players who were superstars in the Super League over there, and Brian Carney was one of those players as well. It was just a great side. Dave Barnhill, so I can roll them off. We had a really good side, and we bonded really well, and then we started winning. So, albeit I think we played New Zealand Maoris, Samoa, and who else did we play? Scotland. So we won all of our pool games and got to the quarterfinals against England at Henley, and for 60, 70 minutes of that game, we were right in it, and things just didn't go our way at the end. But we had a great time.
I was about to say,
you drink over there, like you're drinking those pints. You're drinking pints over there, and I drink scooters over here. So I've come back, and I'm going. They're like sevens, drinking a seven. It's hilarious.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous. I just got back from over there, and I think the first thing we did when we got off the plane was jump into a pub at 9:35 in the morning, and by the time it's 3 a.m. and you're still sitting in another pub. So yes. I can guarantee, I can see why he's bonded so well and got on with some bit of a role in the footy. You certainly bonded in those pubs.
And the Ireland community, like we spent 2 weeks in Belfast, and then we went a week and a half in Dublin. So most of that time in Dublin, we're at the Guinness factory behind the bar serving, and it was just good fun. We just had some funny times. Yeah.
I was going to say, you would have been treated like royalty over there at that point of time as well. You guys were going so well.
It's obviously a new sport to Ireland. It wasn't sort of highly. It wasn't. I don't think anyone knew what we were doing, but they turned out like that. We had, we had probably 5,000 to 10,000 people at each game, which was great. Yeah, and we won, so that made it even more special.
There we go. We'll get back to the rep footy shortly. I just want to quickly ask a couple more questions on the Warriors side of things. You got to become captain with Stacey Jones while at the club. What did that mean to you?
Being asked to be co-captain?
Yeah.
Look, it was it was an honour, that's for sure. Something that I didn't expect when I signed to go over there. There was nothing like that was even talked about. It was just I think Daniel just wanted to have a forward and a back, basically looking after the side. Obviously, Stacey was an 80-minute player, so he was the person that he was the captain. I was just in there to support him and look after our forwards, and it just worked well. We roomed together for the first couple of weeks, but he's a bit of a grog monster, Stace, and he was up to it. He wouldn't go to bed, so I asked him to be room with someone else.
I need to ask you about this story and if it's true or false. I've got to read it because it's from a source. So in the 01 Grand Final, Daniel Anderson attempted to inspire the team at halftime by playing a mock commentary of the Warriors scoring the greatest try ever. And now what I've read is that you then picked up the recorder, you smashed it, and gave the team one of the most inspiring speeches ever heard.
Oh, look, what I've found out over the years that Daniel didn't have anything to do with it. Daniel was probably pressured into doing it, but the mock tape sort of came from upper
management.
So, which is it was just bizarre. It was just bizarre. That's what it was, I think Ando was a bit embarrassed because he didn't sort of address the team. He just put that on and walked out. So I don't think he wanted it to be played. So I don't really know what happened. But yes, I picked that stereo up, and there would be still pieces of it stuck in walls in that stadium.
Do you remember what you said in your speech?
Oh, mate, I was just after what I just heard, it was just unbelievable, and I was just it was like a volcano exploding. If anyone's seen Craig Bellamy spit, I would have been up there with him on that day.
I remember I was just a little kid. I remember watching that grand final and that season as a whole for the Warriors, and it was that was the start of the blackout phase for the Warriors, where it was just the fans were going crazy over there. It was almost as big or bigger than Union at that point in time because of the success that you guys are bringing on the field. Do you remember what it was like? And I guess they're seeing it now as well at the Warriors, just what it was like playing there and that blackout type scenario.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. The fans and the support we had over there 2001, 2002 was unbelievable. Being the first team from the Warriors to make the finals in 2001 was great. We probably didn't do ourselves any favour. We lost our last game against the Cowboys in 2001 and sort of put us into eighth spot where we could have finished fifth or sixth at the highest, I think. And we had to play the minor premiers, and they were red hot that year, 2001. I don't think they lost too many games that year, but that was a difficult challenge for us. But yeah, going back to the crowd, once there's great support there, win or lose. But when we started winning, I think it was a shock to it, to everyone. And when we started winning again, I think we won. I think it was like 8 or 9 in a row at one stage. We were 8 or 9 in a row, and it was just an amazing ride. And just as I said, just to be that first team to make the finals in 2001 was something special. And I remember it. I think we might have even drew with Melbourne to secure the spot in Melbourne. Yeah, so it was just unreal. But the support we had in 2002, I can remember our first semi-final because we were minor premiers, and I think we played Canberra, and it was just packed, and you just couldn't hear on the field. And you can hear most days on the field. You can hear what you're saying. You can your players can hear what you're saying. You can hear the other players as well. But that particular day, it just went. The roof came off Mount Smart Stadium. It was just unbelievable.
Why not? No, I'll go again.
I'm still taken back by the halftime speech, to be honest. I'm wondering if what you did contributed to the next move and moving to the Cowboys in 2003.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think that punch up with Webby, I think that's why the Cowboys signed me.
You could fail, I'll give you that. Wow.
Yeah, I think that's right. Look, I'd been negotiating with Muzz and Peter Parr because I knew the Warriors. They had told me that they weren't going to sign me, and I didn't want to go to England. So they came over and we after a game we sat down after a game and sort of negotiated, and then it sort of stalled, and then basically I agreed to terms to go back up there, and it was great. Look, I'm from North Queensland. It was an opportunity to go back to it's basically my home region. Played a lot of football in Townsville when I was a kid. So it was a bit of a homecoming. I loved it, and it was great because it was a bit like the Warriors. They were a bit lost as well when I first got there. I think that was because they were a one-team town, but a smaller town than Auckland. Auckland's a big city, but Townsville, you can't do anything without, being pulled up for anything. But the boys thought they were rock stars. They loved the Mad Cow up there in the mall there. And they, win, lose, or draw, they're at the Mad Cow getting free drinks, no matter what. So I made sure that sort of thing wasn't on, and we had to start winning before we started celebrating.
Talk to us about, as a passionate Queensland man, representing your state, which you did a number of times, and no doubt it was a special feeling for you. Yeah,
well, it was a bit. I thought I may have got the opportunity earlier on in my career because I'd been coached by Wally in 1993, and and I had a really good season under him, and he was the coach in '94. So I thought, maybe that what might have been my year, but it wasn't. Then I obviously made the Super League tri-series against New Zealand and New South Wales. So that sort of kicked me off, introduced me to Wayne. Then I spent 3 years at the Broncos, playing really consistent football. But, we had some really quality back rowers back then. So, and I just couldn't get my head in there. And yeah, look, I was lucky enough in 2001, playing in that 2000 grand final under Wayne. Wayne was the coach. He trusted me. He knew what I could do, and obviously I made my debut in 2001, which was great. Look, as I said, it was a bit late, but it was such one of the highlights. Running out, that was the last game at Lang Park. That 2001 first game at Lang Park. That was the last game there before they tore down the stadium to build Suncorp Stadium. So it was just great to just to be able to experience that experience at Lang Park. And we didn't get to drive down Caxton Street that day because it was just too many people. So we had to detour, unfortunately. So I didn't get to experience that. Yeah, so that was a bit of a bummer.
Talk to us about the atmospheres then, because you've played at a number of places, you've played a number of arenas where the atmosphere would have been sensational. What was the biggest and the best one you found?
Oh, look, I think, I played in grand finals at the Sydney Football Stadium back, the old Sydney, 96 and 98 was at the Sydney Football Stadium. Then they went to the Olympic Stadium, and, it carried 100,000 people, 2,000 in 2000. So that was massive. But, it was further away from the ground, not like the Sydney Football Stadium where it was nice and close, held 40,000, which was special. But, 2002 was special, I think, because we had a lot of Warrior support there. I think Eric had bought 20,000 tickets and handed them out to all the New Zealanders. So we had a really good contingent of Warrior support there. And it was a bit like 2001 Origins here. It was very emotional, running out for the first time for Queensland. It was just really emotional because a lot of hard work goes into getting there. It's a lot of sacrifice, sacrifice from your family, sacrificing your family as well. So yeah, it was really emotional. So I would have had tears singing the national anthem. I think I had tears singing the national anthem in the 2002 grand final. That was just it was just a special moment.
You played for a couple of clubs. Which one is it? The one you're wearing now that holds the closest place to your heart?
Oh yeah, it does. I love my time there. It was just I really evolved as a leader as a footballer and a leader under Ando, I think he brought out the best of me. Like he took us. Look, training was nothing that I was used to. I was, 3 years at the Broncos. We just, it was all about just hard work. And it was different training techniques with Ando. He took us right back to the basics. We had, we went right back to the skill sets of the rugby league, and how we held the ball or passed the ball or played the ball, or, how we got up to play the ball. We were like under nines learning football right from the beginning. And I loved it. And we played a lot of games. We weren't running hills to be conditioned. We were playing, we called them conditioning games. And it was like, 7 on 7, 8 on 8, 6 on 6, 4 on 4. It was just so much, what do you call it? It was just competitiveness within the club. We just loved it. It was good fun. But again, we were, and you didn't really care about the weather. It was raining. We'd be training on ice and be freezing, but we just got in and did it, and we were lucky. The showers were warm. We got back into the showers and had a nice hot tub.
So we're currently speaking 2023. We're getting towards the finals, and two of those clubs, the Broncos and the Warriors, are looking really dangerous in this competition. How do you rate both sides' chances?
Well, they're a good chance. Look, the team that sort of keeps it simple and does the basics really well and performs under pressure will always sort of come through no matter what. But they're up against, these boys are up against a Penrith side who are just experienced. They don't give you anything. They're very, very well drilled under pressure. No one drops their bundle. They just all work really hard for each other. And you look at those three sides. I think those three sides are the top runners to win the premiership. I can't see any other side other than those three sides winning it. But you look right across the board, great forward packs, both good forward packs. They've got hard workers. They've got good nines. They've got good front rowers. They've got good back rowers. They've got great leaders in all three packs. They've got great back threes. Their fullbacks are playing outstanding. They've got great halves, and it's going to come down to whoever wants it more. I think it's very hard to say who's going to win it, but whoever, because any of those three, you need to get there to win it, and that's the thing. I'd love to say New Zealand can win it, but they need to get there. I'd love to say Broncos, they need to get there. Even Penrith, they're not a shoo-in, but they need to. If they get there, I think they're the benchmark. That's for sure.
What I'm taking from that is you don't want Penrith to win it, but it's a nice little segue.
I'm catching up with Ivan tomorrow. We've been great mates for a long time, and our kids are best mates. And I can't speak highly enough of his son. He's a gem. One in a generation, and they deserve all the success they get, and they might carry on, but that comes with success. You can layer up a bit when you're winning. One of the great things, Wayne, we were going through the 98 or might have been the 2000 premiership, and Wayne would bring in all these sayings all the time. And one saying stuck with me, if you ain't got the ring, you ain't done a thing. And, the guys with the ring, they can just carry on as much as they want because everyone wants that ring, but it's very hard to get, that's for sure.
Yeah, people hate success. There's no doubt about that. It's a nice little segue into your thoughts on the modern game. Look, obviously, looking back at your career, you're a pretty tough player. Didn't mind throwing a few punches. It's kind of a two-part question. Your thoughts on the modern game, part one, and part two, if you could have your time in a magical world and you could play in the era you played in or the current era, what would you choose?
I think today's game is very structured. They're super fit, or they're super athletes. I don't know if they're super fit. They're super athletes. They're big and strong, and they just train differently from where we were. When we started training, it wasn't compulsory to go to the gym. It was, if you get there, get there. But make sure you get there. So there wasn't an emphasis on being big, or everyone would have been the same. But we didn't have that. But look, the second part of the question, I love the era we played in. I think it was a bit more. It was unstructured. It was a bit more skillful. Players knew how to catch and pass and draw and pass. Basics of the game, where they don't have those basic techniques these days. The great thing about the halfbacks are evolving. I didn't think we'd see another Alfie Langer. Then Jonathan Thurston came along. I didn't think we were going to see another Jonathan Thurston. Then Nathan Cleary come along, and now you've got a good array of halfbacks. You've got Shawnee Johnson, who's playing out of his skin, although he's a lot older. He's smart. He's smarter now. You've got players like Tommy Dearden, who's he's going to be the next Queensland halfback. I think he's well above. He's next in line. But I like how he takes the line on, where a player like Mitchell Moses is very structured. He loves going out the back, and it's boring footy. He does it, and he's a lot slighter.
He's preaching to the guy there.
he doesn't take the line on enough. You know what I mean? Because he might be scared. I'm not sure what's going on in his mind. I don't know. But that's I see. That's the differences I see.
I don't want to take up too much longer or more of your time, so quickly get into some rapid fire questions with you. The best sledge you heard on the field and the best sledger.
The best sledge. The best sledger. There's a few of them. I think Josh Stewart was a good sledge. He was a good sledger, especially in the scrums. There was always, he'd always say something smart in the scrums, and everyone would erupt. I think Jason Hetherington was a good sledge. He was just a funny character. He always had it. Scotty Statler, he used to try and take the piss out of you all the time. But a good thing we knew each other. So, but the best there's so many good ones. If you're winning, you can sledge easily and take it. I wasn't a sledger because, I was a bit more reserved.
You could actually fight. You didn't need to sledge.
I went to hooker a couple of times and threw a couple of uppercuts. So that's as much sledging as I did.
What about the best roomie you had?
Oh my God, the best roomie. Petro Simonesi. He was such a lovely kid. He used to make me cups of tea and whatnot. I think I was a bit like that to Mickey Hancock. Had a lot of respect for Mick. Made him cups of tea, although he was just lazy, I think. Back in that '98 era, we had a great team. We would sit up and play euchre until all hours of the morning. The boys would be in there, having a durry, having a beer, and it was just hilarious. Something that was a bit of an eye opener for me. But best sledge probably Nathan Woods. He was sharp. Look, I haven't got one person in particular, to tell you the truth.
That's all right. No, that's all right. You've covered it. Funniest player you got to play with or be around?
Oh, yeah. Mate, Nathan Wood. Nathan Wood tops the show. Alfie was funny, but Natty Woods, he was just a lunatic, and he had so many great stories. And he used to terrorise terrorized me one night. Just put a screen mask on and broke into my house and terrorised me. But I found out he'd done that a number of times when he was at the Roosters.
I can see why you answered about wanting to play back in that era. Can you imagine if a player did that in the modern era?
I tell you, he broke in my house. He couldn't get in. That was a great thing. He couldn't get in, thank God, because I had it all tied up. Anyway, he sat out on my veranda in this screen mask on it with a coat on over the top of it, and he was turning me incinerator on. He was turning the lights on, and he was reaching through. And I'm just shitting myself. And then I turn the balcony light on, and he's just there scaring the shit. But while he was there, he was laughing that much, he'd actually wet himself. He'd wet himself. That's how much he was laughing. He couldn't. He was a lunatic.
What the final one for this one? And honestly, you've played with that many. It's crazy if you can select one. The most naturally gifted player you've ever played with.
Probably Darren Lockyer would be the most naturally gifted. But the best player is obviously Elf. Elf was just so far above everyone else, and so brave, great leader, inspiration on the field. When he spoke, didn't have to even speak, and just had so much respect for him. Every player on that team just had so much respect for him. So he's the greatest player. But Lockie, as a gifted athlete, as a fullback, he's the best fullback I've played with anyway.
And before we let you go, just finally, how are you doing personally, and where people can find you and what you're up to at the moment?
Yeah, mate, I'm going well. I've got a cleaning business and a waterproofing business on the Gold Coast, so things are really good. Life's good. All my kids are grown up now, which is 2 are travelling overseas and one's down in Sydney, lives in Sydney, and life's good. So I live on the Gold Coast, around the southern Gold Coast area. So mate, I got a great group of mates that we train with regularly 3 or 4 times a week. They're all footy heads, they're all business people, they're all construction workers, they're all builders, whatever they do. And we go, we get in there for 30 minutes and then go for a coffee, and we have a sledge, and keeps us sane.
How good's that? You've kept the aura going. You've got to be around that. It's all about balance. So, Kevin, I've asked for way too much of your time. So thank you once again for jumping on and having a chat. We're 2 league heads, league fans, so really appreciate it.
My pleasure, boys. Anytime.